In our last session, we talked about how Israel has discovered a oil field and a natural gas field that could really affect Russia. And you know Russia is not going to stand for that. So let's see what the impact would happen if the European Union would stop buying its oil from Russia. What's the impact if Europe stops buying Russian oil? CBS News, April 21st, 2022, Money Watch. The EU sends $450 million a day to Russia for oil and $400 million per day for natural gas. So in essence, what's going to happen is if Israel sells and goes around Russia, you will find out that they lose almost $1 billion a day. That's a reason to come after Israel. Did you know that the Bible predicts that Israel would discover oil? Yeah. Did the Bible predict that the oil discovered would be in the sea? Moses predicted that Israel would find oil in the sea more than 4,000 years ago. Now, according to Deuteronomy 33:19, it says this, "For they shall suck of the abundance of the seas and of the treasures hid in the sand." Well, folks, it doesn't take much imagination to think of what they're talking about. It's in the sea. Where did they find this oil? In the sea. How did they get it out? Well, they had offshore drilling. It sucks it from under the sand. And it's the treasures under the sand, the oil. So here we are, 4,000 years ago, Moses predicts that Israel will find it, and this is what's going to bring Russia down on Israel. Let's continue reading. The national interest. The first ever regional gas forum was held January 14th, 2019 in Cairo, with these Eastern Mediterranean gas pipeline participating countries along with, listen to this, Jordan, Italy, and the Palestinians. There are some early signs of the cooperation, and these should be welcome. States which acutely stand to benefit from the find: Greece, Cyprus, Israel, and Egypt. So when you start looking at this, you start finding out that Israel is aligning with all these different people and all these different countries. Look at this. This is the Eastern Mediterranean pipeline. And who's benefiting from this? Egypt, Jordan, and Syria. All of these, remember we talked about this earlier. We said that there would be an alignment and they would become from all over the world. But why would not Egypt, Jordan, and Syria be a part of that? Well, they have an alignment with Israel so that they will benefit from the oil. They don't want Russia to come down and take the oil because they will lose their benefits. Now, the interesting thing about it is not just those who are allied with them, but who's left out of the deal? Well, the country that's left out of the deal is Turkey, who is aligned with Russia. Now, why is that? Let me explain it to you. Turkey will join Russia to take the spoils. The East Mediterranean pipeline has been in the works for more than a decade. The Israel, Greece, Cyprus project has long been seen as a way to diversify natural gas supplies to Europe. The Turkish government has always insisted that Israel's gas can only be sold to Europe through Turkey. And the Jews are not going to do that. They're not going to sell it through Turkey. So Turkey doesn't mind. They want Russia to come in. So isn't it amazing? 2,600 years ago, Ezekiel said all these countries would be against Israel, and then these countries that would be for Israel. Who would have ever thought that it was the oil that God would reveal in the last days? So it's not a coincidence, ladies and gentlemen. It's a reason prophecy is unfolding right before us. Now let's talk about the battle of Gog and Magog, the battle of Armageddon. Are they the same wars? No, they're two different battles. I believe that the battle of Gog and Magog starts at the tribulation period, and the battle of Armageddon ends the tribulation period. So in all reality, you have a battle that starts it, and then you have a battle that ends the tribulation period. Let's look at this timeline very quickly. We look at Jesus' resurrection, then you've got 40 days, and then he ascends into heaven. Then we have the church age. Now, the church age goes until, I believe, Revelation chapter 4, verse 1, and that's the rapture of the church. Then you have the tribulation period and the great tribulation period. It's divided into half, and it's a 7-year period. Then Jesus' second coming. You know, a lot of people say, I'm waiting for Jesus' second coming. It's not a second coming. That's at the end of the tribulation period. And then you have the 1,000-year reign, and then you have the lake of fire, the great white throne judgment, and the new heavens and the new earth, Revelation chapter 21 and chapter 22. Now, I'm going to give you 9 reasons for believing that the Bible separates the two battles, that they are two different battles. The battle of Gog and Magog and the battle of Armageddon are two separate battles. So let's look at that. First, in Ezekiel, there are definite allies mentioned, and they are limited in number, while other nations stand in opposition. Now, in Armageddon, the campaign of Armageddon, all nations are allied together against Jerusalem without exception. The second reason, Ezekiel's invasion comes from the north, but the Armageddon invasion comes from the whole earth. The kings of the east, China, is involved in this war. Interesting enough, as we look in the news again, we find out that China and Russia are gathering together. Russia-China military alliance, quite possible, Putin says. While the world was occupied with COVID-19, China and Russia were joining forces. Now the question is, will China and Russia form an alliance, Russia-China nearing alliance, despite fears of provoking West? And that's Newsweek, November 11th, 2022. President Xi and Putin showcased the alliance during the second days of talk in Moscow. Does the Bible predict a China-Russia alliance in the last days? The battle of Gog and Magog, Russia will lead the troops against Israel. The battle of Armageddon, China and Russia and the world will declare war on God and the Jews. It is prophesied that the sixth angel, and this is found in Revelation chapter 16, verse 12, and the sixth angel poured out his vial upon the great river Euphrates, and the waters thereof was dried up, and the way of the kings of the east might be prepared. Now you have to understand, I've been to China 21 times. You know, in the 60s, 90% of them had bicycles. Today, they're driving Rolls Royces and things like that. As a matter of fact, the traffic is so bad that they have to give odd and even numbers just to cross the bridge. So when they say the kings of the east come across on dry land, they're talking about countries like China that were really non-existent in these times. So we look at that, and then it says this, and he gathers them together into a place called in the Hebrew tongue Armageddon. What other proofs do we have? The third reason. The purpose for the Russians is to invade and take the spoils. The purpose of the Armageddon campaign is to destroy all the Jews and declare war on God. The fourth reason, Ezekiel's invasion is to destroy through convulsions of nature. The Battle of Armageddon is an invasion is to destroy by the personal second coming of Jesus Christ. The fifth reason, the Ezekiel invasion is destroyed on the mountains of Israel. Armageddon campaign is destroyed in an area between Petra and Jerusalem called Megiddo. The sixth reason, The Russian invasion takes place while Israel is living securely in the land, but the Battle of Armageddon campaign takes place while Israel is in flight and in hiding. The seventh reason, this invasion will be led by Gog. Armageddon, this invasion will be led by demonic forces, the false prophet, and the Antichrist. The eighth reason, it will take 7 months to bury the dead during the Battle of Gog and Magog. And in Armageddon, those who are killed in this war are eaten by birds of prey. As a matter of fact, in Revelation chapter 19, verse 17 and 18, it says this, "Then I saw an angel standing in the sun, shouting to the vultures flying high in the sky, 'Come, gather together, for the great banquet God has prepared. Come and eat of the flesh of kings and generals and strong warriors, of the horses and their riders, and all humanity, both free and slave, shall be great.'" Another proof is that it is a chance for the Jews to believe in Jesus. The phrase, "then you will know that I am the Lord," appears in the book of Ezekiel 50 times. This battle will destroy the Antichrist and the false prophet. The false prophet and the Antichrist will be cast alive into hell, Revelation 19:20. And then, if the battle of Gog and Magog begin the tribulation period, will you be raptured up around that time? Will we be gone by that time? My question is, will you be left behind? The coronavirus mandates were a test of the New World Order. It showed the world could be transformed overnight. I've had people say, "Oh, Mr. Benwell, America wouldn't bow down to this kind of stuff. That's just, it would take hundreds of years." No, it showed that it would be run from a global command center, the World Health Organization. It proves that the governments would surrender their sovereignty to the Antichrist, who would rule the world. I mean, think about it. China obeyed the World Health Organization. America, Australia, Germany, they all gave up their sovereignty. It conditioned people to obey all commands, whether they're right or wrong, or they would be punished. Those who do not obey the Antichrist's orders will be put to death. It conditioned people to go to a cashless society, which we'll talk about that in Revelation chapter 13. And no one will be able to buy or sell except they take the mark of the beast. My friend, you do not want to be here during that period of time. We're starting to unfold what is going to happen in the future. If God was accurate in what's happening with the Battle of Gog and Magog, He's also going to be accurate with the Battle of Armageddon. We'll talk more about these things next time.